Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Welcome to the Founders Chair.
Thank you.
I can give you a nice haircut. Huh?
Ah,
It's like
I need one. I need one.
what do you normally do? Do you do like bald on the side or brush? Or
Yeah, zero fade, zero mid fade.
how long have you been doing it now? Something that you.
For most of my life, my hair was actually to the back.
Is it?
Yeah.
So you do like a pushback.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like back in the day.
And then we went through this spiky phase. I don't know if you remember that,
Yes.
for a few years.
Everyone wanted to do that style.
And then, yeah, I went for a little bit more of a corporate kind of look, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spiky one lasted a few years, I must say.
Yeah, that was the one that everyone was talking about. So you're originally from Cape Town, is that correct? Like
Yeah, born and bred in Cape Town.
In Cape Town.
My earlier years, 80s, say the 80s to early 90s, was in a place called Kensington,
I know Kensington.
on the Cape Flats, that side.
Yes.
I don't remember too much, but most of my teenage years post 94 was
Yeah.
spent in an area called Pinelands. I don't know if you know
Pinelands, I know Pinelands. Yeah.
So I
Pinelands wasn't rough, but was it
No,
rough? It wasn't
no,
like
Pinelands
wasn't
was-
like
Pinelands was quite a nice area.
Yes.
Very green, gardeny.
yes.
And then, yeah, I spent most of my youth there
Yeah.
and studied at UCT.
Yeah.
Went to a high school called Rhodes High. I don't know if you know it. It's
I
on
know
the
Rhodes,
Lisbeth Parkway.
yes.
That time it was when the Model C schools just came out.
I remember.
So both my parents were entrepreneurs for all my life, actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is it?
So I grew up
What
in
were they doing?
the one was in textiles, one was in printing.
Okay. So you didn't
Um,
follow suit. You didn't follow the business.
No, I worked in the businesses during holidays and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I got to experience them as entrepreneurs in the household, you know. So you
Yes.
experience the joys and the tears and all of that.
Yes.
But what it did do was they managed to do well enough to put me through, I think, a fairly good education. So
Yeah.
I didn't go to the local schools. I went to these Model C schools, and then they managed to put me through university as well.
Okay.
So
So that helped a lot.
yeah, my dad cut a deal with me to say, because money was tight. I mean,
Yeah. Because you can imagine both of them is doing.
yeah, and we were 3 children, so I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the middle.
Yes.
So he cut a deal with me to say he'll borrow me the money to university, because
Yeah.
in our family going to university wasn't like the first choice, you know.
Of course.
You had to go work and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it wasn't
So,
like a big thing.
He said he'll borrow me the money, and if I drop out, I have to pay every single cent back. But the day I graduate, he'll write everything off. So that was the deal. So that kind of kept me going, you know.
So you matriculated and you went to UCT after?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Studied in accounting and finance, but I always loved the world of entrepreneurship. So
Yeah.
at an early stage, I knew this was the organization I wanted to join.
Yes.
So I was either going to become an entrepreneur myself or play some kind of role in the ecosystem, you know.
Yes.
So I finished university. My dad wrote off the debt as we agreed.
Yeah.
And then I did some training at a firm, finishing my articles and so on.
But do you think I know, because you know finance is so interesting. What actually made you go into finance? Because you know, as entrepreneurs, finance is our weak point.
That's actually a very interesting question, because it wasn't my love. My love was in IT.
Yes.
I mean, that time I was,
And that time with IT wave.
yeah, there was like this wave of computers where it accelerated. So I was building computers and doing all sorts of funny stuff in my spare time.
Yeah.
And IT was my first choice. And
Yes.
then my high school accounting teacher asked me in matric, you know, what are you planning on doing? And I told her, no, IT is my love. And she said, listen, think about this. Because I was the top accounting student in my grade.
Yeah.
And she said, listen, you've got a knack for this thing. Think about it instead
Yeah.
of the IT.
Yeah.
You know, she thinks I've got some potential to go places
Yes,
with it.
yes, yes.
Eventually, what I realized in university, I actually hated accounting. I really don't like it.
Because
But
it's not the same, huh? It's not the same because
So-
I actually got the same advice because funny enough that with my matric results, I done well with accounting. But then I worked at Standard Bank and I got an opportunity to get the bursary to go study. And my experience wasn't the same. I mean, like, the first year I actually dropped out, and I don't know why, but it was one of those things where you have the perception that it's the same, but it's not the same.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
absolutely not the same. It's a different story.
So, I mean, I saw it through and finished my articles and got to training. It gives you a good foundation, I must say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely.
So that, I'm very grateful that I did that. But my passion was definitely in business, and
Yeah.
that's where I wanted to pursue my career. So, and I thought, you know, business partners gave the opportunity of both the business angle to things and a taste of entrepreneurship. So, this was not a job that I found in the newspaper. I actually very specifically wanted to work for them.
Okay.
And they had an office opposite the old Good Hope Centre in Cape Town.
Yeah,
And that's where I
yeah,
actually
Cape
started
Town,
with
yeah.
them. Yeah.
And that was from the beginning. It's like, it was very intentional from yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So, so that's where I started out. I also worked. I think what gave me an edge was while I was studying,
Yeah.
I worked every evening and weekends in a call center.
Oh.
So I was actually, naturally, I would say, originally a strong introvert,
Yeah.
but then I worked in a hardcore sales center.
Yeah.
Sales
That's so
call center.
difficult, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Because now imagine you're going into
Selling
call
stuff
center,
over the phone.
selling
Oh,
stuff
that's
over
not
the
easy.
phone,
That's not easy.
doing something that nobody wants to do.
And that was for a listed company called Home Choice. They used to sell stuff out of magazines and so on.
Was it a call center in CBD?
No, it was in Claremont.
Claremont.
in
Okay,
Claremont.
okay, okay.
And they were quite a big organization. So there I actually learned a lot of the work disciplines and stuff very early.
Yeah.
And in my second year, I think I was already managing the call center of about 70 people or so.
Sure. Yeah.
So that gave me a lot of exposure very early, and I think that gave me an edge in my working career. So, but I think what helped me was I was just naturally a curious person. You know, you want to know things, so you
Answer questions.
you kind of do your research and read up and ask a lot of questions. I drove everybody nuts with questions. But then you knew, you know. So,
yeah, then you knew exactly. Yeah.
so that gave me, I think, an edge in the working world, and I learned how to operate within the working environment earlier than others who were still
Yeah.
studying.
Yes.
So yeah, that was hard years. I studied during the day, worked at night, worked weekends,
Yeah.
and I was quite a good cricketer actually.
Serious.
Yeah, I'm a big sports fanatic.
Is it? Okay, okay.
And
Were you a
then
bowler or batsman?
batsman, and then
Batsman, okay,
in
okay.
well, cricket's a long game, so
Yeah.
you had to make a call whether you want to pursue it professionally or not, and
Yeah.
I chose an academic career. Rather.
Yes, yes.
So that helped me get through university to open up some more time. And then it was what from there, after I finished my training, I said, no, I definitely don't want to be an accountant for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
got into the investment activity of business partners, and they gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And from there,
It was like, I think it's over 17 years ago now.
that was, yeah, this will be the 18th year on the 7th of March, actually. So,
How does it feel like? Huh?
Uh,
Like, you know, like
it's-
it sounds like it was the other day, but
it's gone so quickly, I must say, because also of my progression in the organization, I never
Yes.
really became bored or stagnant.
Yeah. yeah,
I have a great deal of gratitude to the organization for the opportunities and so on,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
But once again, that curiosity and hard work did well for me.
yeah,
I would say that those were two key themes. I wouldn't say I was the smartest in the room always,
yeah,
certainly not, but I think hard work, curiosity, taking pride in what you do and so on. And I must say, a very, very strong support base in terms of my own family.
okay,
I got married, of course, had children. So the home life was very stable, balanced, good support, so that allowed me to pursue my career, which included, by the way, moving from Cape Town to
To
Johannesburg.
Joburg, yes.
That was a
yes.
big move. That was one
a
of
big
the.
one. Yeah, especially coming from Cape Town. So
It's
now you
not
have
often
to
that you just
adjust,
make
eh?
that move, you know. So,
yeah,
and there, once again, gratitude to my family who supported me in it. My wife gave up a very good job in Cape Town
yeah,
to support me,
yes.
and that was about 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
I still feel like I'm not Cape Townian though, I must say. I don't think I'll.
But
So
the accent is still there.
I
You can
still,
hear the
yeah,
accent.
I still support the Stormers, all of that, so that hasn't changed. Um,
So during that time, what has been one of those lessons? And you talk about curiosity, and I think that for me is such a key pillar as well for people just to understand, because most of the time you think that once you have your degree, once you got everything in place, now you think everything is good, but you still continue to pursue what's next.
Yeah, I think curiosity was definitely one of them. The other one was, it was definitely I would say a purpose-driven career choice.
Yeah.
Although I was an accountant, that's not where my passion was,
Okay.
and that's not where I found my purpose in.
Makes
Definitely
sense.
not.
Makes sense.
So I thought, I want to do something that contributes to the betterment of society, of our country,
Yeah.
of my family, and so on.
Yeah.
And the kind of work we do here does that. It helps
Yeah.
people to grow. It helps them to create wealth for themselves,
Yeah.
future generations. I mean, think of it. My parents, through their entrepreneurship, could put me through a good education,
Yes.
and from there, you have all these ripple effects. So,
Yes.
so the impact of one family's ability to own and grow a business,
Speaks volumes.
it will last for generations. If you're successful. So.
Yeah.
I would say curiosity was definitely one, purpose-driven career choice,
Yeah.
certainly. And for the most part of my career, I know it sounds cliched, but I mean it. I really don't feel like I had a job. I was doing what I loved. The client side of things really inspired me to see that your impact in their business, in their lives, was so positive. So that for me was really gratifying
Yeah.
and enriching.
Yeah.
And then lastly was just to have balance, I love sports, I love my family, I
Yes,
love my
yes.
career.
Yes.
I spent a lot of time serving in different ministries in our church.
Okay.
I'm a musician, I play a few instruments.
Yes.
So balance is good. It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be one thing.
But I think balance in Cape Town is good because it's like it's two different places.
That's true. I understand. I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be either or, right? You don't have to choose a career over your family or your friends or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You really can have a very balanced, fulfilled life.
Yeah.
But you've got to be intentional about it. So,
Makes sense.
and it can never be equal. That's the one lesson I've learned. So you give and take here and there. But balance is important, I think.
Yeah.
And I think be authentic in who you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a different person at work and at home. Certainly not.
Yeah.
And I think those were kind of the lessons. And lastly, which I can't forget, find yourself in the shadows of good people. In other words,
How important is it? Right?
find yourself under good leaders
Yes.
who will take you along with them, and from which you can learn really great things. So, and in my career progression here, I must say, I work under some great people. So, those were probably some of the key lessons. And then lastly, it was never just one-way traffic that was good, right? I've had lots of obstacles I had to overcome.
Yeah.
And you really got to pick yourself up, dust yourself
Like
off
what was
and
those
move
obstacles
on.
like especially in corporate, like working in corporate, like especially from an entrepreneurial space, but like in corporate, it's a different setting as well.
Yeah, I think there's things that you really want to pursue, that you're passionate about, that others don't feel the same necessarily. Maybe it's not the right time to do it, whatever. So that's one aspect. The second that I experienced was from the clients you funded the day they closed their doors. That I took really
it's,
personally. To see the job losses, to see the businesses close their doors and so on.
That's quite sad.
Not necessarily through your own fault or anything like that, but that's not a good day for me. And then developing relationships with people and seeing them leave, to pursue other interests and careers. I don't really like to see that if it's part of your team and so on. Or people let you down. That's also some of the experiences. So actually, as I evolved in my career, it became less technical and more leadership based. And interesting enough, I never saw myself as a leader. I always saw myself as a technical person, and now I'm leading an organization.
You're automatically into this leadership position as the MD.
And
able to start out from grassroots.
So I would say midway through my career, I really started to embrace this leadership aspect to my career. And that's probably the last lesson that I would say in terms of what I've learned is surround yourself with the right people and surround yourself with good people who kind of align with your vision, and that even goes for any business owner, not just in corporate. You want to be successful, you can't do it all, certainly not, but get a team around you that can make it happen and that believes in your vision and that can create magic, that can solve the problems and so on. That goes a long way to your success, I must say.
And in terms of leadership, I know with leadership, there's different elements of leadership. And the way you speak, it comes across like you one of those leaders that would love to serve them instead of wanting to be the boss. Because I feel like there's an autocratic leadership, but there's also like a servant leadership, and there's also, so which one fits you more in terms of your style as well?
Yeah, that's very clear to me. Definitely not the autocratic one, let me say that. But what has I think worked and contributed to some of the success that I've had is I try and lead by taking people with on the journey and developing and upskilling them in the process. And it takes a bit longer, so you got two options. You can crack the whip, get the job done, and leave a long blood trail in your path.
I think that's a quick fix.
But success will be short-lived.
That's so true.
When you invest time in building people, in building teams, it takes longer, but your success is for a much longer period, for a much more sustained period. So I'm a firm believer in that. Look, there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes you have to be a bit firmer and assertive on things that's not right, and there's a place for that. But the strategy shouldn't be beat the people to death so that you can get the result. I don't believe in that.
Because I think because especially like the Westerners who teach us about the quick ways of getting results, and it's all about the results that matter at the end of the day. And sometimes the results that you get, fair and well, you get the results, but then you get unhappy people within your organization. And we've seen this many times happen where people aren't happy to come to the workplace because of they don't feel valued within the space. And most of the time we see this happen. What type of culture is so important to evolve around that?
Yeah, I agree with you. And people need to feel, well, I would say, firstly, the difference between good and great in organizations are the ones that believes in the purpose of the organization. That was so clear for me. People who believe in what they do will generally tend to work harder and be more productive, and so on. So that's one aspect to it. The second one is people like to feel valued, and they like to feel empowered. So while still being able to manage the risk, empower people to take the decisions that they should be. Decision making shouldn't be too concentrated or centralized in a small pocket in an organization. When people align behind the purpose of the organization, they are passionate about the work they do, and they feel empowered. You can have a
Yes.
much happier workforce and a much more productive working environment. So,
Yeah.
and lastly, give them the tools that they need to do the job. It's such a
Yes.
simple thing,
It's
right?
not
But
just, yeah,
we don't always get it right. So,
yeah. Yeah,
um,
because I do believe, especially the purpose as well,
Hmm.
it comes down to the purpose. And I think the purpose why people are there, because most of the time people have this perception that people come to work to make money. You understand? And one thing that I've seen is that if you come to work to make money, you will work a 9 to 5, and that's all. But if you come to work to actually to serve, and it becomes a different story, because now you won't be looking at a time every 5 to 11 and saying like, it's time to knock off. But now your service to the company speaks much more volumes.
and in addition, it's also about what you're doing during that time, right? So you
Yes.
can be a 9 to 5, be very unproductive.
Yeah,
You can also be here, do your work, or you can be here, do your work, and try to make the organization better in serving its purpose. And that's where you get a lot of the innovation, improvements, and so on.
yeah,
So, and the trick is to build a team, recruit well,
yeah.
because if you don't recruit well, you can change the culture of the organization very quickly. So,
But what's your metric for recruitment? Because people have like different metrics in terms of, fair well, you're going to get the skill set, you're going to get the, but what is the one thing that you know it's like now?
so this is my view. So,
Yeah.
my personal view. There is a base set of skills that you want a person to have, right?
Yes.
For competency and technical skills. That's true, and I agree with that. As equally important, and I would say maybe even more important, is character.
Yes.
What have you done to overcome obstacles in your life, achieve success? You want to find people that are, you know, we talk often about how do we motivate the staff, how do we get them to be disciplined, etc., etc. But if you find somebody that is self-motivated, self-disciplined, if you can recruit an organization like that, think about a workforce that you don't have to spend copious amounts of resources and effort to try and motivate. They're
Yes.
self-motivated, they love what they do. That for me is a completely different mindset in terms of a workforce
Yeah.
compared to people that you have to continually incentivize, inspire, motivate. I mean, there has to be that, I take that.
Yeah.
But if they can be
Not always,
self-motivated
yes.
and self-disciplined
That's true.
and have the willingness to do the right thing,
Yes.
you will have an incredible workforce in my view.
Yes.
So character to me, encompassing all of that,
Yeah.
above or on top of a basic skill set and competency base that you need, I think you can build a really good workforce.
And that depends on the person's attitude as well.
For sure,
Yes.
for sure. And there are ways of teasing that out in the recruitment process. It's not perfect. I mean, sometimes you get the odd wrong recruitment. But if you can get it right most of the time, you really can build a good workforce.
Yeah.
And then the secret is to try and retain them in the organization.
Okay.
Money will solve some problems, money won't solve all
No
problems.
problems, yeah.
So to keep them stimulated, to keep them energized, to keep them involved, and develop them through the process. I think that's one of the reasons why I've stayed here so long.
But what are the
it's-
type of things that kept you here for so long?
I think it's opportunity.
Opportunity, yeah.
I grew very quickly within the organization.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of it. The people that I work with are really incredible,
Yeah,
and that
that's
helps.
good. That's
You
good.
feel good when you come to work.
That's good.
And then lastly is the clients.
Yes.
I really found my joy in going to different businesses, meeting business owners, different industries, different backgrounds. It's really important.
Yeah.
I loved working in a diverse organization. So there's many people from different backgrounds. I think there's strength in that.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about people in the process.
Mm.
And then lastly, I want to work in an organization that that is well governed, meaning they operate on sound principles, integrity,
Yeah.
and values that align very closely to mine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's quite important
Yeah,
for
which
me.
is so important. And I think like most of the time people don't see that, especially in this day and age. I mean, like where you come from, especially looking at your Christian background, how important is that? Because people would do business without the basis of integrity, and most of the
Mm.
time it's short-lived.
No, it's got to align with your own values. I mean, I doubt I could ever work in an organization that where the value system is fundamentally different to mine,
Yeah,
because then you can't be who you are, take the decisions you need to take on the principles of which makes for sound decisions, right?
Yeah.
So, and that includes, by the way, just treating others with dignity and respect and things like
Yes.
that. So those are the kinds of things we try and promote within the organization, and it makes for a good culture. So,
yeah,
not to say, we have the tough discussions when we need to,
yeah.
but it's still based on treating people
Treating people like they.
well, with kindness, with
Yes.
dignity, with
Yes.
respect.
Yes.
So you have to find a home in which that value system is shared.
Shared, yeah. Yeah, which is so important, huh?
Yeah.
Which is definitely so important, because I think most of the time we do things that we don't want to do, and it's misaligned, it's out of place,
Mm.
and you end up compromising your values as a person itself.
Exactly.
And so you as a person start asking yourself these questions: why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing?
No, exactly. I mean, it's such a simple question, right? But
Yeah,
it's not so easy always to answer. Why am I here? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I know why I'm here, but maybe everybody doesn't feel the same way, or they're unsure, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can't answer the question, you really should spend some time thinking about it, because you should be able to answer why you are here.
yeah, that's true. That's so true. That's so true. Tell me, does your Christian values influence the decisions that you make as a leader?
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
I would say there's a framework, principles, guidelines, policies within which you operate within an organization.
Yeah.
But the value system of doing the right thing, treating people well, I mean, those are the fundamentals of
So the
Christianity, right?
fundamentals, yeah.
You can still do that within the framework of how you're supposed to operate. So
Yes.
I would say, and somebody that was kind of a coach mentor to me said, because I stopped some of the activity in the church to pursue my working career,
Yes,
because
yes.
it just became
Too much.
quite difficult.
Yeah.
And they made a very interesting statement, and I never thought of that. They said they were actually against me stopping the church work, if I can put it
yes,
that way.
yes, yes.
And they said, you are the leader you are because of who you are outside of work,
Yes.
not the other way around. You
Not the
don't
other
you
way
don't excel in your church work because of the kind of leader you are, and
Yes.
it's actually the other way around, which
Yes.
which made a lot of sense to me. So I slowly started to come back now into that kind of work,
Yeah.
just mainly music and so on.
Yes.
But so I kind of saw the value in the statement.
Yeah.
So to answer you, yeah, it absolutely does influence you, and you can operate with that value system within the guidelines, frameworks, and policies that set out in the organization. So it's more about how you do it, right? So
Yeah, it's more about how you do it, and I think it basically comes back to you as individual, you as a leader, and how you're going to be leading your organization. Because most of the time you can lead and take the shortcuts and mistreat people and do all of these things. And I mean, like, to the world system, it could be a thing, but I mean, like, in Christianity, and something that I'm so passionate about is being able to instill the Christian values within our organization, which sometimes you don't necessarily hear that. And I think it speaks to the foundation as to why we do what we do. You understand? So when we come to work each and every day, what we do is pray every morning. You understand? This is a standard thing that we do across all stores. And I think that particular, I would say, ritual or custom that we implement becomes the basis of what we build our business on. So everything that comes afterwards is on the basis of that. And I think in any organization, I mean, like, everyone has their own rituals, everyone has their own customs. That speaks so much in terms of, especially what you were saying, is that many of the times you would go out of church and and people tell you to come back because of that is actually what makes you as a person. And most of the time we get it wrong.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, even in a organization like this, we're very diverse, very different cultural, religious backgrounds, and so on. But the universal laws of treating people well, being kind, being courteous, being polite, and being sincere and authentic in that is kind of universal laws, right?
Yeah.
So it can actually be applied, that value system, in most, if not all, religions.
Yes.
And so it's not, I wouldn't even argue it's limited to
It's
Christianity.
limited to- yes,
It really is across everyone, from a cultural point of view and a religious point of view. So
Makes sense.
it's just about instilling that as part of your culture. I think it's
Yeah.
important.
That's all.
And that doesn't mean being soft or getting trampled over, or the hard work still needs to happen, the difficult conversations still need to take place. It's only about how you do that.
I'm with you.
And
I'm with
the person you walk away mustn't feel belittled, trampled upon,
you.
and so on.
Yes. Yes.
When you're done with that conversation.
That's true.
I think that's
So
important.
true. That's so true. What was the one moment where you felt like just throwing in the towel, man? I mean, whether it's in business or everything, is that one moment where it just felt like everything was crumbling down?
Yeah, that was probably during my studies, right? So I don't like studying, let me tell you that. I hate the textbook. I love working. I love, again, the curiosity thing. I like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I found studying at UCT very tough. It was hard work. It was lots of work, lots of reading.
Yes.
So I hated it, I must be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn a lot in the process and so on, but the actual study work for me wasn't great. And there were times during that you just want to do, is this really for me? And especially I would say in my second year.
Okay.
In my third year I was closer to the end, so
it was like almost there.
you're almost there, but
Yeah.
midway through, oh man,
It's
that's a dream.
It felt like, this is.
And then you kind of just get, you speak to people and they give you good advice if you speak to the right people, and
Yeah.
they kind of just keep you going. And before I knew it, it was over, right? And and that was great. So I would say that was, during my working career, very few times you actually want to throw in the towel
Yeah.
if you love what you do, right?
Yeah,
So,
if you love what you do, it's a different story.
but studies, man, I had a few of those moments.
No?
Maybe you didn't pass a test, or it was a tough
Yes,
exam,
yeah.
or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So there was a few moments then, I must say, but I'm glad, once again, I come back to my previous comment. You surround yourself with the right people. They're there to uplift you in those difficult moments.
In those moments, yeah.
And before you know it, you pass the winning line,
Yeah.
So and there I must give credit to my family also.
No.
Yeah.
But the best advice that you received?
Best advice that I received, let me think about that. I received so many in my days.
Okay.
I think best advice I received was, you're normally a bit anxious when you take on new roles, new responsibilities and things like that.
Yeah.
And I received it on more than one occasion.
Yes.
Was, just be who you are.
Yeah.
And what got you to this point will help you get to the next point, So I think it's simple advice, but it's so powerful, because you don't have to change who you are as you move from one chapter to the next, Just be who
Yes.
you are, be authentic, believe in who you are,
Yes.
and live by that value system that you have, and you will be fine.
That's amazing.
And then the second piece of advice is, as you move through the ranks, your ability to do everything yourself becomes less and less, and your
Okay.
success lies in working through people, right?
Yes.
So believe in and build in the power of relationships.
Yeah.
It's really important,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of value in building networks outside of your domain, right?
Yeah.
So the world itself runs on people and the power of relationships. I believe in that
You believe in
very
that solely.
firmly.
Yeah.
And take the time to invest in it. It's powerful. Relationships are powerful. Networks are powerful things to have.
And most of the time we underestimate it, no?
For sure. I mean, you just never know. You may not get any short-term benefit out of it, but you just never know. At some point in the future, a door will open through those networks for
Those
you.
networks, yeah.
You'll need to lean on somebody and reciprocate it, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes they will lean on you for things and vice versa. So be there. The relationship shouldn't be one way.
Yeah.
So invest in it. And I mean that at a social level, professional level.
Yeah. Doesn't matter
Um,
what it is.
Networks and relationships are powerful things.
Yeah.
And the world actually runs on it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's also true.
Mm.
And everything depends about, and that's why you find these different types of networks that you join, and it's all to get like-minded people to basically build on those networks, because those are the networks that will keep you going throughout. You understand? I'm actually part of an organization called, I don't know if you know YPO.
YPO.
YPO, yeah, it's like a young presidents organization.
Oh yes, I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah. So I think like that also just contributed towards my growth as well.
Mm.
But almost exactly what you're saying is that what you put in is what you get out, and it's exactly that. You understand? Once you're able to invest in those relationships, and those relationships invest back into you, and vice versa, and you start seeing the rewards from there, because. Yeah, because to your point, I do believe that the relationship is much more a better currency than any dollar or rand amount that you can put to.
Oh, exactly, right.
Yeah.
And like invest in people. Take the time to invest in people, right? So what I mean by that, you know, in your mid-20s to mid-30s, late 30s, you work your butt off, right?
Yeah.
And you try and advance your career as far as you can.
Yeah.
But one thing that I regret, let me say that,
Yeah.
is that, let's go back to the beginning of our conversation. I've never gone back to Kensington to go and chat to the school that I came out of.
Yes.
To say, listen, guys, this is what awaits you in the world. This is the realm of possibility. I've been there, I've experienced it.
Yes.
Let me share with you some of my lessons, right?
Yeah.
If I look back, I don't think I've ever had somebody coming back to me to say that, right? So I've had to learn the lessons the hard way.
Yeah.
But you know, if you make a difference in the lives of 2 or 3 people in the latter part of your career when you're more experienced, it could make a very good positive difference to somebody sitting in that audience, right?
That's
So,
so true.
while it's a regret, I've got it on my to-do list. I need to try and do that. But the point I was making is we need to take the time unselfishly.
Yes.
Go back to some of our roots and
Yeah.
go and share some of our experiences and life lessons with, you know, aspiring leaders of the future and so on.
Yeah.
I think we do too little of that. I must be
That's
honest.
so true, because you never know what seed you're planting in somebody's life. You understand? And you know, like, to us, it might seem a bit insignificant because you're like, like, what kid is going to listen to me? But you'll be surprised at the type of impact that it will have in somebody's life, and you get somebody walking up to you one day and say, you know what, because of those words that you said, or because of that thing, I actually grasp onto that and look, it helped me to basically advance in my career.
Definitely, especially somebody that comes out of this similar circumstances, right? So by that I mean, hey, this guy came out of this very school community, and you know, he's done something with his life. Why can't I? You know, and it's more relatable rather than big role models, international role models, and I mean, there's a place for that, but also if we can inspire with our stories and life lessons in a very micro community that we come out of. I think there's huge value in that for somebody else. So.
That's so true. That's so true. I agree with you 100%. It's just taking the time to help people. Taking the time. Like it's because at the end of the day, I mean, like, you can only do X amount for your family, but I mean, imagine the impact that you'll have on the broader community that's out there. It's massive.
Yeah, so I think there's a place, certainly in the latter part of your journey,
Yeah.
to give back. I mean, otherwise, you don't want to be chasing money and success your whole life. There
Yeah.
comes a time where enough is enough, and it's about making a difference, um, uh, sharing some of that with others, inspiring them to become the next generation of success
Yeah.
and leaders. You know, so you actually have to decide for yourself at what point
Do you
that
want to
is.
do
Yeah.
that? You want to do that? Yeah, no, I think it's so critical and something that we don't take it as serious as we should.
Yeah, we don't think about it often.
We don't
you know,
think about it often because we're so busy in our day to day. We're really so busy in our day to day. Should I turn you in front?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Thank you. But let me in the same breath say, life's not easy, right? We
Yeah.
get torn up in all these challenges of trying to survive, trying to make a living, pay the bills, spend enough time with the family, and so on. That we don't really take time to think about these things.
Yeah.
But we must.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, I heard something quite interesting. This person was saying that sow your seed in a time of need, because sometimes we so focus on our own thing and we focus on fixing what we currently have, but have we taken the time to actually sow a seed to somebody else's life while you're going through a situation? You understand? And sometimes we don't think of it that way. No, we don't think of it that way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and the line, you want the line?
yeah, please.
Okay,
That's fun one.
okay. Oh, that's quite interesting. So you need to go back to Kensington. And how's mom and dad doing now? I mean, like,
They're
they
good.
they must be like proud of you.
Yeah, I hope they are.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
But
But they're good. They're getting on in years now and so on.
is it? Are they still,
They retired. Well, the one's still running a business. The other one's retired. But they are good. So thankfully, we get to see them on a regular basis. So
Okay.
they either come up or we go down. I mean, it's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it would be nice to spend more time with them. But time is difficult
Yes, yes.
nowadays. But otherwise, all good. Yeah, all
Is
good.
it?
Yeah.
There's like.
Well, let me say this: we were quite a tight-knit family. We
Yeah.
stayed in a similar vicinity, always
Yes.
visiting and so on. So it was hard for me to
adjust
uproot and for them, I'm sure,
Yeah.
for me to uproot and come this side.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I think it was the right move.
Mhm. I don't you most like the type of food there because like especially in Cape Town. Cape Town for me has one of the best food in South Africa. That's something I feel personally.
Yeah, the spices they
Sisters.
use are different.
The Sisters, it's like
Yeah, from Persisters to Gatsby's to
yeah.
Salomis, all those kind of
All
nice
of
stuff.
that, yeah. I mean like that.
Even the spices they use are different. Like
Is it?
I prefer Cape Malay curry to not that Indian curry is bad, but
Yeah,
I mean it's really really nice. But
yeah.
Cape Malay for me just has a different flavor.
There's a
you know.
different flavor to it. And it's different, huh?
For sure, it's different. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's those little things you do miss, but when you're there, you try and take
Try and
advantage
make the
of
most.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, mom is always cooking.
So, but otherwise, yeah, we still follow similar things at home. We'll cook a pot of food for dinner and things like that. So,
Yeah.
I mustn't say we, my wife does most of the cooking, but
Because the wife is busy cooking.
yeah, she helps a lot with that.
And she's the one that's making everything right.
Yeah, no, she's great.
No.
Um,
How important is to have like a supportive spouse as well? Because just because you're out here, you're doing your thing, and sometimes that woman is, she also has goals, she also has ambitions. How important is that?
Yeah, look, there's no ways I would have gotten to this point without her. Let me say that.
Yeah.
And it's the small things, right? You can't be here, you can't be at a school meeting, you can't pick up on this
And the
day,
pickups,
whatever the
yes.
case may be, right?
Yes.
Then there's that aspect. Then there's the aspect of you've had a really tough day, right? You come home and you get uplifted and things like that. So that's another aspect to it, for example. And then the last one is where there's opportunities and you speak about it. It's just encouragement of, you know, go for it. If it doesn't work out, you know, we've got fallback positions, things like that. So just motivating you to kind of go for what you want to do, you know. So it's and so much more. It's really important. And you need somebody, if you can, just to lean on those difficult days and uplift you and get your spirits back up, pick you up, and then you can move on. So I would say it's really important. On the contrary to what many may say, that you can't have a sound family life and a good career, I argue completely differently. I think
you can have.
to have a good career, a strong family base is quite important.
It's quite important, huh?
Just to keep you grounded
Just
and
to
so
keep
on.
it grounded. Then you talk about balance as well, because I think that's where the balance comes in place.
Yeah, I mean you've got to be intentional about making time
Yeah.
to spend with your family, even your kids. I mean,
Because they grow so quick, huh?
yeah, at the blink of an eye, they're grown up.
They're like already teenagers. You close your eyes again, and it's time for a trick ball.
Yeah,
It
exactly,
just becomes
exactly. So that family base and a good supportive spouse, it's really important.
Yeah, that's critical. That's also critical. That's also critical. So your day-to-day role at Business Partners now?
Yeah, now since the 1st of Jan, I've been
Yeah.
appointed as the managing director. So
Yes,
previously I was the chief investment officer, so looking after the investment side of the business.
Yes.
And about 3 years ago, I was appointed on the board as an executive director. So that was kind of leading up to this point. Towards the end of last year, I spent about 2 months abroad at Harvard University Business School.
How was that?
Wow, what an experience! Yeah,
Huh?
it was quite an experience because I was there during the elections and elections of the new
yes.
president.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So I would say I enjoyed the time there. It was really fulfilling from a network point of view. Once again, lots of people from all around the world. It was great to experience the States. But there's things about South Africa that no country can ever do.
I agree with you.
So I was very happy to come back. It was tough being away from home for so long, I must say. But once again, you know, you spoke about the support base. I was happy to go abroad, know that everything was taken care of at home, and that I had everybody's support, you know. So that was important. But now South Africa is for me the place to be,
The
for
place to
sure.
be in, huh?
For sure.
I think and once you start traveling and then you start experiencing and you're like, you know what, there's no place like home, huh?
Oh yeah.
There's definitely no place.
I mean, it's nice to
Despite
visit for a
challenges.
few days
Yeah.
and so on, but when you spend an extended amount of time there,
Yeah.
you start to realize some of the great things we have in South Africa.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because there's some things that we take for granted. Like just how friendly our people are, how people are like so like if you look at the type of cultures that we have compared to the other places, it's totally different.
Yeah, I mean, from the food, we've got some good wine here in South Africa,
Yeah.
all of those kinds of things, you know. So
Yeah.
you take that for granted sometimes. So, no, I had a good time abroad, but glad to be back. Yeah, so 1st of Jan, to answer your question,
Yeah.
was in the hot seat as managing director.
Yes.
Still familiarizing myself with a lot of the things. Thankfully, it's a business that I grew up in,
Yeah. So you know.
so I know it reasonably well.
So you know exactly.
Supported by a great executive team and management team and the rest of the organization. So lots of plans for the future. It's now to get everybody
On board.
rallied behind that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the
What's the one thing that you wish to implement or to establish. That's especially in business partners.
Yeah, I have a big desire to use technology much better in the organization.
Yeah,
I think we've got potential for that. I
yeah,
think the time is ripe now to do that, and to grow the organization without necessarily growing its people base or infrastructure significantly.
okay,
It's really about leveraging technology to as a mechanism to deliver the growth.
yeah,
And by growth, therein again, just aligning to the purpose
yeah,
of reaching more entrepreneurs, creating more growth for them, creating more jobs,
yeah,
that they can create more jobs for people and their communities. So that's where I see the objective in growing business partners, to have a bigger impact in the societies and communities that we operate. So, and I think we can do that. Technology's evolved. AI has now been a big narrative as of late.
yeah,
I think there's opportunities to deliver funding quicker, better, using technology better.
yeah,
So that's kind of where I would like to go.
yeah,
And along with that, not that technology is going to replace the people, I don't see that,
yeah,
but that you build an incredible team. So,
yeah,
and by that I mean build an incredible team that will use the technology to deliver more growth.
Yes,
That's kind of how
yes,
I see it happening.
yes, yes.
That's a long way to go,
That's a
lots
long
of
way.
plans, but hopefully people will see the value in it
We'll see it, yeah.
and rally behind me in trying to
Try
pursue
to
that.
pursue it. Because it comes down to people. It comes down to the betterment of people.
Mm.
And are you able to I mean, like, we currently facing with a huge crisis within our country where the job unemployment rate is standing at, I mean, like I saw the youth unemployment rate is close to 50%. You see, and I believe that it's only entrepreneurs that has the capacity to actually help change the narrative around us.
Yeah, that's true. Well, certainly they are a big employer.
Yeah, they're the catalyst behind
They're
everything.
big in numbers in terms of the number of businesses, and if they can add a few more jobs to each business, you create huge levels of employment, right? So, and once again, people are fearful of technology taking away jobs and things like. I'm not. I'm saying there's a place for people who know how to use the technology, or can work with the technology to create more efficiencies and output. So it's really about, my belief is that some of the secrets to unemployment also lies in education, upskilling, as the world's evolving, because it's changing very quickly.
Yeah,
So even skills of yesterday may not be relevant for skills of tomorrow. So
yeah,
it's about adapting, evolving, upskilling,
yeah.
and working with some of the other tools like technology in creating different kinds of jobs, different profiles of people, skill sets and competencies. So, but at the level and sheer volume of unemployment, that's very difficult to solve overnight.
Yeah, I agree with you
But
100%.
you know, people often comment on how we can solve jobs, how we can create jobs, etc., etc. And they put a lot of energy and resources and sometimes even funding behind it. I have a firm belief, create good businesses, they will create the jobs that we need.
Yeah.
So we need to create that environment in which business owners can thrive, entrepreneurs can thrive.
Yeah.
Don't make it difficult for them to operate.
That's so
You
true.
see, in our current environment, they have to spend so much time just dealing with compliance,
Yeah.
legislation.
Yeah.
Take that away from them and let them focus on what they love to do and what they do
Yeah.
best, and that is creating things, growing businesses.
I agree with
That's really the route we should be taking as a government.
you. Yeah. Which is quite so hard, especially for the general entrepreneur that's trying to do something out there, and somebody's really trying to just do his thing on a daily basis, but now he's faced with so many challenges. And if you look at basically VAT tax, all of these things become so difficult or stumbling blocks in the process.
Exactly. I mean, to run a business, you probably need to know about 15 or 20 pieces of legislation.
Yeah, that's so true.
Then it's all the annual returns and taxes and
Taxes.
labor laws and all of
Yeah.
those kinds of things. So, I mean, it's quite difficult for entrepreneurs to do that, right?
Yeah,
So, or
yeah.
to know everything. So,
To know everything now, you.
we really need to find a more simplified legislative framework, and that includes tax, by the way.
Yeah.
Simplify all these taxes, simplify all this legislation, that they can start to thrive and be more conducive for them to grow.
Yeah.
But at the moment, lots of time spent on compliance, bureaucracy, red tape,
Yeah.
that I can think can be used more productively.
That's true. That's true. If you were the minister of small business right now, what would you do?
I would say one piece of legislation governing your business activity, one tax,
Yeah.
and in a very simple form, and that's it.
That's right.
Take that away from business owners. Remember, you have to increase your cost, the number of people to service all this compliance, all these kinds of things, right? So
Yes.
it's not just time; it's also money that you
spend.
have to incur, and it's incredibly complex to navigate through all this legislation just to run a business.
Yeah.
So I would definitely simplify it, simplify the ability to get access to funding, simplify taxes, simplify legislation, one identity. Now you have a company number, a VAT number, a PAY number, I mean all these different identities, right?
Yeah.
One identity, and then lastly, create market access for them.
Yes.
Have forums locally, teach them how to take products and services abroad. Let me tell you, Sheldon, I see some incredible stuff that we make here in South Africa,
South
entrepreneurs,
Africa,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They are either too skeptical
Yeah.
or it's too risky to try and start to do business abroad beyond South African borders.
Yes.
But there's a big business case to actually sell products and services beyond South African
Beyond
borders.
South Africa, yeah.
If we can't grow our country's GDP locally, we have to look at activity beyond our borders. Right?
Yeah.
But it's about know-how, knowledge, feeling safe to do business in another country. So creating all these platforms
To actually want to do that.
to teach people how to do
How to
business
do-
abroad.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
because most of the time people think it's like it's the impossible thing to
exactly, and it's awareness. I mean, we have this Africa Free Trade Agreement, which makes it easier for people to and cheaper to do business abroad. Certainly on the African
do.
continent.
African continent,
But people don't know about it, or they don't know enough, or they're too scared to kind of take these risks and so on. So we need to teach them how to do it, maybe provide some protection through taking these products and services abroad,
Yeah.
creating these platforms and forums that they can.
But I think it's a narrative also. I mean, like entrepreneurs have this narrative, especially when it comes to the, yeah, it's just a narrative around, just changing that narrative on all of these things because it is available.
Exactly, it's awareness,
It's
know-how.
awareness, yeah.
So that's where I think we can certainly help entrepreneurs to get better market access. And then lastly, if I was the minister, I would really start to clamp down on paying these entrepreneurs late. Corporates and government, and I see
Yeah.
that still, corporates and government are not paying our entrepreneurs on time.
Yeah.
And they suffer as a result. Some have to close their
Yeah,
doors as
that's
a
true.
result. So there's really a big liquidity squeeze on them,
Yeah.
which they cannot afford. They don't have the cash reserves to carry
Carry them
late
through.
payments and things like
Yeah.
that. We really have to sort that out.
Yeah.
And really clamp down on the government departments. Some are better than others, let me say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But there's some government departments and some corporates that can really do much better.
But it's just take advantage of it, huh?
Exactly. And I mean, you rely on these blue chips, sometimes government, for income. So it's difficult to really turn up the heat on them
Yes.
with the risk of losing them. But
With the risk of losing, yeah.
we've got to do better.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Because it's not a priority for them as well. It's
Yeah,
not-
and the power is heavily weighted in their
in
favor,
their
right? So
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not so easy for smaller businesses.
It's not so easy for them to stand up and basically speak out loud about the challenges that they're facing. That's-
Exactly.
Yeah, which is But I hope we'll do better. I'm sure, I'm confident and I'm really optimistic about where we're going to as a country. I definitely think that there's some positives that we can take from this, from what we're going to. Because entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of our economy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Sona speech, I think, touched on all the right things. I think the successful line, the execution of it, and that's yet to be seen.
Yeah.
But it's good that government's planning on spending a lot more money on infrastructure. I mean, remember, a lot of SMEs, entrepreneurs, actually provide that services to create that infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? So that spend is crucial in creating opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But they have to make sure that that spend happens. So, and we need it. I mean, our ports, road, rail, water systems, it's all decaying very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So we need to maintain them, get them upgraded, and SMEs and entrepreneurs play a big part in providing that. So we have to get that executed.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, I'm done now.
Wow.
I'm done. So I think, like, just in closing, I think for a kid in Kenilworth that would love to or aspire to be like you one day, that say, you know what, Jeremy, I look up to you. Is there any words that you can give me that I can just take home and just remember that? What are those words? And if you can just give us those insights that a kid will continue to latch on like you did, and you made a career out of coming from the community, coming from that environment, and still making a success.
Yeah, I would say one, pursue what your passion is, what you think your purpose is, irrespective of the obstacles that you will face, and there will be. You have to find ways to overcome them, right? You're going to get knocked down, you've got to get up and carry on. I think most successful people have experienced failure at some point, and it's about how you respond to that. And I think there are unsuccessful people that could have been successful if they just got up and carried on.
Yes.
Right? Secondly is, you don't have to be the smartest person to be the most successful. Hard work goes a long, long way. It will be recognized, it will be picked up by people, and as a result, opportunities will be open for you. I would say that's really important.
That's really powerful.
Number 3, I would say find a way to invest in your education. That's the one that opens doors for you.
Yes.
So, and then I would argue education together with hard work, a good attitude, and treating people well has gone a long way for me. The world is a much, much bigger place than you think it is. Beyond your community, beyond your city. Don't be scared to pursue the opportunities that presents itself to you. So I would say if I reflect on that, that's probably some of the key things. Remain authentic, stay true to who you are, live a good balanced life, and nothing comes easy, so you got to work and go and grab the things that you want, you know. So that's probably some of the key ones. There's probably lots more, but I think those are the more prominent ones.
Those are the ones that's like, that stand out the most. And I think from my side, Jeremy, thank you very much for being part of the show.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I even forgot I was on this. We had such a nice chat. It felt like just another day. But it was good. An absolute pleasure. Yeah.
But what an inspiring story that you have, and I think many people can take away from this is that being able to go through the same circumstance that you went with your father, and all of these other things that could be excuses as to why we don't achieve certain things in life. You triumphed that and made a success out of where you are, and being just the newly appointed Managing Director of Business Partners. And I'm really excited to see what's going to unfold in the next coming year. I'm looking forward to cheering you on and
Oh,
saying,
thank you.
and saying that that we look up to you and we have faith in where we're going to as entrepreneurial space.
No, thank you very much.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Thank you very much.